Hey everybody, going to do a little instruction video for my Facebook page on how to install a quick shifter. Okay, all I've done so far is take off the plastics to be able to get to the ECU and the battery. If you're riding an 0607 R1 or an R6, you only have to get access to the battery, though, on the wires. Step is I'm using the dyno quick shift sensor. This is a push sensor because I'm running GP pattern on my R1. And I've set it up so it's about the same length as the stock one. The reason I do this is because I like where my lever is, and we're going to take a couple steps to assure that it's in the same position when I'm done. First step I do is I mark the knuckle with a Sharpie of where that little slot is, and then I'll mark on the frame where about my shifter sits. The thing we got to do is we got to remove this shift rod. So this has different threads on it on each end, so what you do is you just cut this loose. I've already loosened them a little bit, and then you're going to break this one loose. One's right-handed and one's left-handed, so that when you turn this, what it'll do is it'll actually come off of the rod. There you go. Stop. The reason I marked this is because I like to take this off. I just think it makes it easier. This is your shift knuckle. I've already broke this bolt loose. I'm just going to remove it and pull the shift knuckle off. Screw this into the one end of the shift knob. I mean, you can't see it, I have them wound up, but I have this wire so it's facing up so we don't have to loop it around. So what we're going to do is screw this completely onto the bottom knuckle. What we have now is the shift sensor attached to it with the wire pointing up, just because it makes it for a cleaner installation. Remember that mark I made on the shift knuckle? We're going to line that up so it's in the same spot. And then I'm going to look at my shifter and see where it's at. And right now I'm a little higher than that mark I made. So I'm just going to turn this until I get it there. See, I have the shifter lined up with the mark I made. So now all I have to do is tighten down the two lock nuts to make sure that the shifter doesn't adjust itself while I'm riding. So both those lock nuts are tightened. Now what I got to do is run the wires. I bought this shifter secondhand. And it already came pre-wired with the ends I needed to put it into the ECU and to ground. I normally recommend using the Flash Tune quick shifter harness just because that allows for easier on and off removal, because there's going to be would actually be a plug in between there. This is just going to be a straight wire. So I'm going to run the wires and then I'll through the frame and stuff, and then I'll show you the final part. Okay, from looking at the chart that I put on my Facebook page, I know that I got to connect the pin 27. That is one of these right there with the white plugs. So what you do is you push in on this white little clip, that'll release them, and then you insert the wire into it. Done so far is just push that little white piece in so you can see it's set into it. I removed that little white clip, and now I'm just going to insert this wire into that hole. I want to make sure you guys can see this. It's very clear. You just insert it and push it all the way in. Now all the way in, and I can see it on the other end, even if you guys can't. I was lucky enough to have a pin already on this that matches the ECU pins, but you could do this with just a stripped wire and inserting it in until it sits in there. It's not as good as the pin, obviously, but those pins are expensive and you can't buy them single piece. So after this, now all I need to do is lock this by pushing the tabs on the other side, and it's all set. You can see now that that tab is flush. All I have to do is reflash the ECU for the quick shifter option, and I'm ready to go. So cool, thank you. Don't forget to check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/vcyclenut. Let's talk a little bit about what a quick shifter does, and is it needed? Is it needed? No, obviously not. Millions of people put millions of miles on motorcycles without them and been just fine. But what does a quick shifter do is it allows you to make upshifts without touching the gas or the clutch. You can either be partial throttle or full throttle. It does the shift totally smooth without the front end of the bike bouncing up and down. So it can be a safety thing. It doesn't take any attention away from you, and it's just really cool. They're pretty neat when you use them. Almost makes your bike sound like an F1 car.